You're listening to A Deeper Dive, a part of the Winsight Podcast Network.
What is the future of health and restaurants? Hello, this is Jonathan Mays, Editor-in-Chief of Restaurant Business. And in this week's episode of A Deeper Dive, I'm talking with Lisa Jennings, the Executive Editor of RB, about the future of healthy food in the restaurant industry. We chat a lot about Ozempic and drugs like it, and whether these medications could ultimately wreak havoc on the restaurant industry. A lot of people worry about these drugs and think that so many people may take obesity medications in the coming years that it will affect restaurant sales by curbing the appetite of those people. We talk mostly about chains' need to push healthy food on their menus and the rise of a class of chains that are succeeding on this front. A large number of health-focused fast food concepts have not succeeded, but that appears to be changing, and we talk about why that is. We also have a healthy debate on restaurants' role in the obesity crisis. It is an interesting discussion on the future of restaurants, so please have a listen. I am here with Lisa Jennings. Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so Lisa, we have had a bit of a disagreement in general about the future of restaurants and health. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, in particular, this topic. Do you believe that obesity drugs or drugs like Ozempic are going to have an impact on restaurants? And if so, why or why not?
No, Jonathan, I do not think that Ozempic and the drugs like that are going to have any impact on restaurants, because anyone who has paid any attention to the whole weight loss industry will know that there's always a magic bullet that comes along. There's always the latest drug that's going to come along. It's going to solve this problem of obesity. And sometimes it can benefit some people, and most times it has horrible side effects, and it kind of goes away after a while. I remember when Fen was the magic solution, the drug that was going to be curing the disease of obesity. And it didn't. It actually caused, some people to die, which was horrible and tragic. And it created a whole network of diet pill mills that were popping up all over the country that, stole a lot of people's money. It was a very bad thing. And I'm not saying that Ozempic is one of those things. So Ozempic, I think, is probably really beneficial for people. It's designed for people who have certain, metabolic disorders, and they need to have, a drug to treat certain issues that they, specifically diabetes, for example. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that the majority of the population is going to use this to lose a little weight, inject. It's injectable. I know you think that it's going to be a pill someday, and maybe it will be, but for a while.
It almost certainly will be a pill.
Well,
I don't think there's any question that at some point it's going to be a pill.
It's also super expensive and probably not going to be covered by insurance just for weight loss, especially for people.
Why wouldn't it be?
Well, for somebody who's morbidly obese, I could make the argument that it would be. But, I don't know if you've paid any attention to what drugs are covered by insurance lately, but it tends to be not many. There's just not a whole lot of insurance coverage for things that a lot of people actually really need. And even with insurance coverage, it can be really super expensive. I don't know what the price of Ozempic is, but anyway, I do not think that, people are predicting that, what is it, something like 50% of the population is going to be on this drug within 10 years?
I don't think I've seen anything like that. The number that I've heard is that at some point, a lot of people are going to be on the medications. I don't think 50%. The issue with the United States is that, 44% of the U.S. population is obese. This is insane. That's a ridiculous percentage of the population. Now, I think we both generally agree that's not restaurants' fault.
No.
Restaurants are always a symptom of what the population wants, to me. If the restaurants are the way restaurants are, because that's the way people want to eat. I think, in fact, we've seen over and over again throughout history that a restaurant people think is healthy will do gangbuster sales. And the best example that I can think of is Subway. The whole Jared campaign not only fueled Subway's growth, because people, for some reason, thought a bunch of meat and cheese and vegetables stuffed between a foot long of bread was somehow healthy.
We're better than a burger and fries, I think was the argument. But
well, sure, it's better than a burger and fries, but you can't eat a Subway in a car anyway. But people thought it was healthy, and that drove sales. That not only drove sales at Subway, it actually drove sales for the entire category. And I think that restaurants, if they felt they could sell healthy food, would do it tomorrow. They would do it yesterday. Actually, they would have done it decades ago. And the unfortunate thing is that that's not why people generally do not go to restaurants because it's healthy. They go to restaurants because they want to have a good time, or they want a break. They want to take, they want a break from the day-to-day life.
But those are two different things. I mean, you can want a break and want to have a good time and meet your friends and also eat healthy. I mean, I do think that there is a hunger out there for something like that. And we are seeing it more and more in the industry. But conversely to your point, if that's a word, if the restaurant industry is getting worried about Ozempic. To me,
it is. And investors are absolutely worried about it.
Right. So if they are, to me, that's an admission that they are part of the problem. So, I mean, if they're thinking that people are struggling not by food, then they
don't know. But I don't think restaurants themselves are not, because we haven't seen it. We have yet to see. There is zero evidence. First off, there's zero evidence that this Ozempic fad that you see in your neck of the woods is having any sort of impact on restaurants. And restaurant sales there's zero change. In fact, restaurant sales are doing great. They're doing shockingly great, actually, at this particular point. The numbers, the graphic that I ran last week, if anybody saw it, there was this pandemic and it caused all sorts of problems with restaurant sales. But then once everybody started going out to eat again, it has just continued to grow the way it normally does. And people are just eating it differently. People love to eat out at restaurants. The concern that I have with Ozempic over the long term is, we know that people are always looking for a solution to their weight problems. And it has fueled an entire category of businesses to try to make that the idea of losing weight easy. And we have seen it over the years. I mean, you mentioned fen-phen. The issue is that it killed people. And if we do get a generation of drugs that work and do go into pill form, because I don't think people are going to inject themselves with a drug all the time, unless it was cheap. And, the only reason why people will they'll inject dry diabetes medications, but I don't think they want to do that either. But, that's a difference between you living and dying, and that's a big deal. But I think that if you ultimately get a drug like this in pill form, and it works, and it doesn't kill people, I think a lot of people are going to take it. That could end up reducing their appetite, and then how they eat is going to be very different. Now, how this impacts sales is going to be a big question mark. And they still can eat the same, it's not necessary that they're necessarily going to eat differently. They'll just eat less. That's my thought on it.
Well, I mean, I do think that even if, say we do see a large percentage of the population on a drug that makes them not feel like eating, they're still going to want to go out. They're still going to want to socialize. It just means offering different things on menus, which, I mean, has been my argument all along. And I do think there is demand for it. You don't see a fast casual concept opening anymore without there being some healthful element to it. I mean, it's become kind of a standard feature that people are looking for, even if there is indulgence on the menu also, because they have to meet.
Sort of like Dave's Hot Chicken. The fastest growing restaurant chain in the United States today is Dave's Hot Chicken.
Although there really isn't anything.
The next fastest is crumble cookies. Okay. Have you taken a look at a crumble cookie there, Lisa Jennings? Have you looked at crumble? Crumble cookies does not sell health food.
All right.
It does not. Okay. That thing, you eat one crumble cookie, and you're probably going to be dead.
Indulgence still sells, yes.
It does sell. People love it.
Look at Chipotle, for example. Chipotle is not only selling and it's going gangbusters on the idea that it's offering real ingredients, real food for one thing, but it did in the beginning, present itself as a more healthful alternative. In fact, in a way that was, sort of pious and better than everybody else, kind of that, pissed off the burger and fries people. and people and all that. But Chipotle is doing quite well with this message, and it really appeals to the whole protein.
Yeah.
All the young kids want protein, and they want
protein is a good.
chicken.
That's how. I mean, you need protein.
Yeah, I mean that they are thinking that that's their healthy choice. The problem with selling health is that everybody has a different idea about what is healthy. So I mean, it's very difficult. But why not have? I would love to see restaurants really market fruits and vegetables. I mean, real fruits and vegetables, not processed plant-based.
Isn't that what Sweetgreen's doing?
I think Sweetgreen does an excellent job of this. I have to say, and of course, Sweetgreen hasn't made a profit yet, but they think they will this year, and they've got some really cool things going on. Mm-hmm. And they do meet a need. I really do think that there are people who are trying to imitate them. Look at Chipotle, it's coming out. Well, maybe we'll see what they do with Farmesa, but it really is kind of shooting for the same audience. It is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think when I talk about like the same example with Subway, for instance, I mean, I think Chipotle is a perfect example of using health in a way to market your good tasting food. At the end of the day, your food and everybody, I don't think anybody is going to disagree with this. It doesn't matter whether you are selling health food or not health food. Your food has to taste good. Your food has to meet consumer expectations for taste. And it is going to be, there's a standard that people are going to want you to meet, whether you're selling health food or not. In Chipotle, there's a lot of great things about the Chipotle model. And one of them is that you can eat as healthy as you want, and you can load up a burrito with cheese and sour cream and meat and beans and rice.
Right.
And it's more calories than a Big Mac and a large fry and a medium Coke. And I've looked at that.
Yes.
Or you can have it in a bowl form. You can cut out the cheese, and you've got yourself a pretty nice meal that's going to keep you full, and it's really good.
Although I was doing half portions. I'm going to keep saying it, Chipotle.
You eat like a bird.
Portions.
You eat like a bird. Yeah,
people don't want too much food. It's too much. It's not good the next day.
I mean, yeah.
That's my thing.
I mean, do your boys eat half portions?
Sometimes, yeah. One of mine actually puts it in the fridge and eats it later, but yeah, still eating it the same day.
Does he have another meal before? Because like my kids would have another meal before my two boys. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh yeah. My two boys just like come home, eat a full, like my youngest now, who's in his he's 14. So, that age as a male, all you do is eat. That you're just eating all the time.
They're growing.
Oh my goodness. And so, he comes home, he eats a full meal, and then he has a full dinner. And then probably snack later on.
Yeah.
I remember, I'll never forget my eldest who said to me, I asked him, are you hungry? He said, Dad, I'm always hungry. So, okay. Anyway, so I want to shift because you mentioned that you think more chains are really starting to get into this healthful message. In fact, you wrote a story not that long ago talking about this. And in fact, we do see an entire generation of restaurant chains that appear to be getting it right on health. Now, the restaurant universe, as you well know, is loaded with restaurant chains that said, we are going to be healthy fast food. In fact, if I had a nickel the number of times I've heard somebody tell me, well, I founded this because I was traveling and I couldn't get fast food that I was comfortable eating because I really wanted something healthy to eat. Right. If I had a nickel for the number of times I've heard roughly that phrase, that comment, I would have a lot of money. Maybe like $10, but still, I'd have a fair bit. And I've just heard it repeatedly over and over again. And if I had a nickel for the number of times those concepts just never worked, I would have slightly less than whatever I would have had with the number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've come and gone, but we think that now we've got a generation of chains getting it right. Don't you think?
I think so. And I think also that younger people are looking for it more. I mean, I have to say, Friday night, it was end of the week. I was exhausted. We wanted to carry in. We had to, for some reason, our deliveries kept getting canceled. This is an LA thing. We ordered delicious from our local place. We have this place that has Italian cioppino. Delicious, healthy, seafood full thing. I had my heart set on this. The delivery was canceled for some reason, unexplained. It was getting later and later. People were hungry. And then we went through another one. We tried another one, delivery canceled. One was Chow Now, one was Grubhub, none explained. We finally went out for burgers, right? We went to I'm not going to say the name of the place. My husband ended up getting, a horrible burger and fries, which he's not supposed to eat. And I ordered the fish. There was a grilled cod sandwich, which was awful. I mean, it was really awful. So, I mean, I chose the healthy thing on the menu, trying to live a little longer. And, this restaurant just totally, I'm not going to go back to this chain because, come on, give us who want to live a little healthier something that tastes good. It's not that hard. This is what makes me so angry is that you have these chains that just completely give up. They don't. I mean, I love Dave's Hot Chicken and Raising Cane's. It's delicious stuff, but there's nothing on the menu for someone who doesn't want to eat a fried thing. It was something else.
I mean, but why okay, so, all right, that gets us into the U.S. restaurant industry is sort of demassifying, to use an old journalism. And I don't go, if I want to eat healthy, I'm not going to Raising Cane's at all. No, I don't, I'm sorry, I don't go to Raising Cane's to eat healthy. Yeah. I want to get some fried chicken that I dip in that delicious sauce. I'm not going to Dave's Hot Chicken because I want to eat healthy. And I am certainly not going to Crumble Cookies. The issue to me is that you went to a burger chain and you got grilled fish. Well, because usually companies that say, we need to put, if the only reason why restaurant executives put healthy food on the menu is to get a health halo. They don't even care if it sells. I mean, they care, but they're only doing it to tell people it's an option. And I don't think that is the future of health and restaurants. I think that it is with companies that can attract customers who are looking for something healthy.
But it's a chicken thing. Yeah, I mean, isn't it? And so this is the whole argument with Ozempic. So let's say people are, losing weight and trying to eat better. Then restaurants, the obligation, it really is to offer something that is good to eat for those people. I mean, and fundamentally, I mean, that
we have Chipotle, we have Sweet Green, we have Cava.
Cava is good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Panera does a lot for people who are looking to eat more healthfully. Yeah, and I think there's this whole new generation of another wave of bakery cafes that are going to be doing really, really good food. Ron Shake having invested in one himself. So I think there's going to be a lot more coming down the pike that we're going to see that where people are actually presenting a meal that is delicious and will not kill you if you have it every day, which is fundamentally what people are looking for. It's not only when you're traveling, it's, on the Friday night, I want to have a dinner that's something good that isn't horrible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but that's true. And the thing is like, if the healthy meal option is an afterthought, which I think a lot of these healthy options on existing chains, the aforementioned, the unmentioned restaurant chain that you are now going to refuse to go to because this burger chain can't properly do a grilled cod sandwich. It's an afterthought. And
it really was, yeah.
Yeah. Like, to me, that, going back to the Chipotle example is, Chipotle gives you the option to eat healthy. You can easily cut calories from that. That's actually brilliant. whereas with a Subway, I mean, you can cut the cheese out or get a much smaller portion. It just doesn't work in the same way. So it has to be part of a company's DNA. You have to grow up with the ability to do this. And that's why, chains like Panera Bread and Cava are the ones that are going to be doing this. To me, Raising Cane's needs to be Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's should never put grilled chicken on the menu. If they do that, that means some stupid investor is pushing them to do that. I do have questions, like, again, circling back a little bit to the Ozempic. If it does become as popular as some people think it is, what happens there? What are going to happen to, your fast food chains like McDonald's and Burger King and companies like that? They are probably going to have to take a look at this and start thinking about, all right, what are we doing for portion sizes? What are we doing for, are we giving this population something they want? But they're going to have a tough time if they just try to do salads, because that's not what they do. Well,
earlier on in this conversation, you said that we talked about the obesity problem in this country. You said it's not restaurants' fault.
No.
I'm changing my mind about that. I agreed initially, but I actually do think that restaurants, there is an obligation in that, to provide food that is helpful, nutritious, and affordable.
They don't have an obligation. They have an obligation to make money for their investors.
Well, but, if you look at like the food deserts out there, there are a lot of places, neighborhoods where you really see, people having a lot of trouble with diabetes and other issues that are related to weight, where their only thing available is fast food. There is no healthy option.
But if you can't make money, why does everybody expect a business to go into a neighborhood off the kindness of their own heart? Because if you're not going to make money doing it, the issue is you got to make money.
Well, we're seeing models like Every Table, which is trying to figure out a way to make money and still make healthy food accessible in these food deserts, which is admirable, and I think still being played out in terms of, how well that's working. But I do feel like there is a need for that. And we are seeing people looking for a way to provide a solution to that problem, which isn't a restaurant industry thing. I do think the restaurant industry needs to think about ways to make healthful food. There's like Sweetgreen, for example, probably isn't that affordable to a certain segment of the population, at least not on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
So here you have delicious kale salad that is fantastic, nutrition packed, but maybe out of reach for a lot of people. So that's another element that I think the restaurant industry needs to think about.
But again, getting fresh, healthy food into a restaurant is really expensive, and you have to price it in a way that prices it out for a large percentage of the population. And then secondarily, it's just, not everybody eats it.
Yeah, I think
and so all of those are, it again is a chicken and egg thing, but people keep saying, well, the restaurant industry needs to be responsible. Why should they make that, until we figure out a model that can make these, can make this food cheaper and more profitable. And again, we're seeing like Salad and Go is a perfect example. That, they are working on a model that they believe can do this the right way. Every Table is, in other words, those are the ones that's part of their DNA.
Right.
That, they are going to they're making it affordable because that's the way that they're going to succeed. And that's the only way that these types of concepts are going to be able to get the reach that they want to get.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if Salad and Go takes off because, having tried it recently, it really is, it's a $6 salad, and it's for a $6 salad, it's kind of amazing. You put it next to a Sweetgreen salad, you're going to see a huge difference, but you can't make that comparison. That's not fair,
No.
But it's fresh and it's real vegetables and, and it's really super easy. You just drive through. You can't eat it while you're driving, but you can eat it in your car if you pull over. You got to pull over, Jonathan. I know you're going to try to eat it while you're driving.
No. Well, I don't eat salads.
Well, you don't eat salads, right?
From a
So you
fast
got
food.
that.
I want to I'll make my own.
Good for you.
Yeah, no, I'll make my own self. If I want to eat healthy, I'm not going to a restaurant.
But I think other people are already trying to looking at that space. I've heard of other drive-through salad concepts already popping up. So I think that could be.
Yes, thank God, because we've got one that's on their way to being successful. So you know what? We're going to get a bunch more. Copycats. All right. Super. Lisa, this was wonderful. Really appreciate you joining me for the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan. It's lovely to argue with you.
Always. And that should do it for this week's episode of A Deeper Dive, which was edited, as always, by Kimmy Spoons Kazmarek. Artwork by Nico Hines. You may find this and other episodes of the podcast on our website at www.restaurantbusinessonline.com/article/deeper-dive. And you may subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere else you get your podcasts. I'm Jonathan Mays, host, podcast producer, and the editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business. Thank you for listening.